Are we live? Is this thing working? It looks like we are live. What is happening, everybody? Hope everybody's having a fantastic whatever day you're watching this. As always, if you're getting just absolutely inundated with ads, post it up in the comments. Let me know. It just means I haven't had a chance to manually manipulate the ads so that you're not just getting your brains punched in by those things. So let's talk about new cars. Is there anything that you guys are interested in? How about trucks, minivans, crossovers? Any EVs got your eyes peeled? No, probably not the latter, but I've got to ask, what are you interested in these days? I'm having a difficult time building oil pressure, if you will, when it comes to cars these days. As you guys know, I have kind of started to switch my focus a little bit away from automobiles into motorcycles. But it doesn't mean that I've forgotten everything that took me years to accumulate in terms of knowledge on car stuff, Mopar stuff, things like that. But the other side of it is, well, what do you do with all the knowledge that you have, all the experience that you've built when there's really nothing out there to talk about? I mean, I just have this weird feeling that we're coming into some level of doldrums that, I don't know, maybe the market really hasn't seen before, hasn't experienced before. I mean, we've always had a Mustang. We haven't always had a Camaro. We haven't always had a Challenger. Does the Daytona count? You've always had something that's out there from an manufacturer that had some level of sportiness to it, whether it was a Toyota, whatever, or a whatever. It doesn't matter what it is. There was always something, but we always had the Mustang. What is the other something that you guys are looking at these days? I got to tell you guys, I don't really know what is out there. In other words, are we going to have, a new hot rod truck for Dodge coming out? I told you guys that new Hurricane Inline 6 is obnoxiously awesome. But what do you do with it? I mean, are we going to see a mini truck like a Dakota? Maybe the return of the Shelby lineup where you had the Daytona, the Omni, the trucks and everything else. Something that would be cool like that. Maybe a little bit of an 80s flair. Maybe we have a little bit of an 80s, I don't know, sleight of hand, duck and weave type of a situation where we've now got hot rods that are really more EPA dodgers than anything else. What could we expect? The thing is that I just haven't seen, and guys, y'all may know more about this than I do. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys might have run into something that, or stumbled across a particular, I don't know, new car, up and coming car. Maybe there's a rendering of something that might be cool. I'm just trying to get an idea for where to point my, where to point my radar when it comes to these newer cars. Because right now it is really hard to talk about anything automotive when you've got, well, all of Mopar going away. Chevrolet is all but going away. Okay, Camaro, Corvette is going to stick around. Are you even interested in the Corvette anymore, guys? Just curious. Is Corvette now so niche? Is Corvette now so, what's the right term for it? Is it sniffing its own farts yet? I guess the reason why I ask is nobody really brings it up. There's always going to be a niche hot rodder for every branding, right? But to me, it just feels like Corvette. You ever notice somebody's face, like where they're just like, you eat something sour, like get that cat's ass, that thing looking with your mouth? That's still how I kind of am about the new Corvette. The thing could be fantastic. In fact, it's a great car from all I've heard, but I just don't see I just don't feel anything for that car. And I desperately wanted to. Fellas, if that car had if that car had a more traditional transmission, it wouldn't be as good as it is. I get it. Okay. But if it had a manual transmission, at least I could say that it's a Corvette, right? Like it's a legit, awesome driver's contraption. You grow through all of that. But without it, that car just rings soulless to me. There's something to be said about a fluid coupler or a manual clutch that just gives something a bit of character. It gives it soul. I don't like the idea of a computer telling my car's transmission now the transmissions are all computer controlled. Hold on. How can I brain mush my way through this? There's something about the clutch. If you've got a transmission that's manual and you've got it, no, see, it doesn't have a lever either. So what's my beef with this thing? I don't know. But you just know it when you see it, when you know that it ain't exactly right. That's how I feel about the Vette. I can't give you a reason. I can't explain it to you. I mean, it's like trying to explain why 7 plus 5 is the same as 6 plus 6. If I've got to explain it to you, then we're never going to get where we need to be. I just can't get it with that car or other cars that are the DCT or however you want to call it, whatever acronym they're going to have for it. But suffice it to say that I'm just really not there. So I just wonder, again, if there's something coming down the pike, what's going on with what manufacturers, because so far as I can tell, you've got the normal Porsche, Lamborghini, McLaren, all the high-end stuff, which is hysterical to me too. You got guys that have based their channels around high-end products, and then I'll have some people tell me that the Hellcat's not relatable. Okay. I didn't realize that Tesla Plaids and McLarens and Lamborghinis and all this other stuff are so relatable to the common man. I haven't quite made it to that status of relatable yet. But anyway, let me check in with you guys real quick. It's first in. Ardell, what's up, man? Eric saying, good evening, Professor B. I just bought a 22 Challenger 1320 and I'm loving it. And you should. It's an awesome car. Got great memories in that car. X is in, my man. What is happening? Got their cadence backwards, brother. It's the arm and then the but it'll work. Got the flex and the ball guy with the shades. I like it. 556 saying keep my Charger scat, but thinking of also adding an Explorer ST for some utility speed. By the way, don't sleep on the Explorer ST. Those things can be made. This is really fast. DM is in, getting a gear heads. X is saying my Challenger is built how I want it, so it's a keeper. Bought a 17 Lexus GX 460 as my new daily, and also do some light off-roading this year, and it's been fun modding it so far. Very cool. X is liking the Supra or the Z. I'm kind of in the same boat. I would love to see, and I love to see Dodge do the same thing. You guys know where I'm going with that already. There's just a built-in history there that Dodge could really jump in the middle of. I mean, that they were a big part of with the 3000 GT, the VR4, the Talon, and then you get into the Omni and everything else. But there were some really cool cars, Daytona 600. There were some really cool cars that Dodge had made and was a part of. Dodge, Plymouth, Mopar in general. There were some really cool cars back then, and it's just a bit of a shame that we never got an opportunity to really flush out some of those cars. I think that, sometime around 1985, 1986, 1987, with the advent of multi-point fuel injection and much more powerful engine controlling computers, ECUs got really good at about that time. man, I tell you what, it's around that time where the V8s just started to really eclipse the small displacement boosted cars, mainly because turbo technology wasn't really where it should have been or where it needed to be to keep pace with the V8s at that point. Now, well, because of regulations and because of, quite frankly, you can get a lot of power out of a small engine these days with modern electronics and modern fueling. Well, those conversations are coming back into the fold, and so I would like to say I'm getting impatient with the automotive, I don't know, ethos that's out there, right? I mean, I feel like there's this built-in vacuum right now. There's a real place for any manufacturer right now that would say what they are going to be bringing to the party circa, I don't know, 24, 25, 26. In other words, if Chevrolet bopped in and said, hey, listen, I know what y'all are looking for, the V8 thing, that's a wrap. But we've got this new 6-cylinder turbo thing that is going to be a riot to drive, 450, 550 horsepower, whatever. Dodge could do the same thing, and Ford could just keep, I don't know, laughing all the way to the bank with a V8 and the Mustang. But you can kind of see where I'm going with this. I mean, the next manufacturer that brings to light their version of whatever the newest hot rod is going to be is really going to be sitting in the catbird seat when it comes to garnering a lot of the pub and excitement coming into these next couple of years. And I only bring up Chevrolet because, man, the brand you love to hate. I tell you something, it would be super neato mosquito if we could at least keep Camaro in some way, shape, or form. And if they could do it right, that would be fantastic for all the bow tie fans that are out there. Yeah, best of luck with that. Dodge has a storied history of bringing small displacement engines to the racetrack. I mean, look as far back you would like. The muscle car era is a great place to start. The darts with the 340s, I mean, those things were marketed as 14 seconds for less than $4,000 or 13 seconds for less than whatever it was. They were out there running numbers with small cars with small hot V8s, which would have been considered realistically the V6 of their era. I mean, anything smaller than a big block was, that was the girls' car. It didn't really matter. And so they were building a lot of hot rod small cars back then with those little engines, morph it into the 80s. You've got the 2.2 liter turbo stuff, the 2.5 liter turbo stuff, the 2.4. There's a bunch of neat hot rods that were in the mix with that. Don't forget the Conquest and the Starion. Thank y'all very much. And so now you've got this crop of 4-cylinder turbo cars, 6-cylinder turbo cars with the 3000 GT, Dodge Stealth, in other words, the VR4. And they've got a place that they could really anchor their marketing to. I just feel like it is a complete waste of some damn good marketing, branding, publicity. It's a nostalgia bait thing. Guys, if I'm working for Mopar and I am in marketing and I am trying to drive the brand, I'm trying to drive the name Dodge out into the marketplace, what better time to be getting after the nostalgia proposition? Let's talk about motorcycles for a minute. What is the most popular motorcycle segment right now? And what has been the motorcycle segment that's been really holding it down now for dealerships? Neo Retros, Neo Cafe, any of those brandings that you want to put into place. The new Bonnevilles, the new Thruxton Speed Twin, XSR 900, FTR 1200. You've got Z900 RS, Z900 RS Cafe, CBR or CBX 1000. Anyway, the list goes on and on. And that's not even the half of it. Brands like Royal Enfield, it's all they are oddly enough getting better and better, and actually are really good at being a retro bike. Again, the list just keeps going on. The point of this is that retro is what's been keeping things afloat. And now with motorcycling, you'll have more adventure bike guys coming into the play with the scramblers and with the Tigers on the Triumph side. And I mean, Ducati the same way. A lot of manufacturers are falling in line with these more retro themes. That's how they're paying their bills, guys. With the Bonnevilles pay the bills, baby, and that's how they're getting by right now. So I guess what I just find so just frustrating about this whole thing is, why is it that we just don't see the same level of excitement from the manufacturer? The manufacturer is expecting us as consumers to have for the brand. Another question that I really should be asking, and maybe this is the topic for the next live chat, but how brand loyal are you? I mean, with Dodge not having anything that they're coming out with, if you don't already own a Dodge that you are deeply in love with, or you're wanting to get something that is maybe the latest and greatest, who do you turn to? Or let's say you're a guy like me, recently has sold a product that you were actually a big fan of, but are looking to maybe capitalize on some newer technology. Why can't we get excited too? It just seems like at this stage of the game, there's a lot of folks that want to get involved in motoring, ? But they really don't have a home to land on, at least coming into the next couple of years. Anyway, let me get back with you guys. David is in with a thumbs up. Arfos, evening gang. Hope everybody's having a good night. Good evening, Arfos. Just did the oil change on my Challenger, trying out the Mobile One and the Pure Later Boss combo per suggestion from a colleague. Mobile One is good stuff. Speaking of Mobile One, what's with them having like 5 different full synthetics now? Yeah, I know. And the funny thing is that it's hard to keep up with what exactly does what. But I'll put it to you like this. I've done a ton of oil research. I mean, guys, to the point. I'll put it to you like this. I've done so much research on engine oils that I can tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt that there is not enough of a difference functionally from oils that you think are great to oils that you think suck. There is, and I don't care what the testing results say, because I'll put it to you like this. All of the modern oils meet specific criteria in one way, shape, or form. And as long as you're buying a well-known or documented name brand, Mobile One, Castrol, Pennzoil, Valvoline, Lucas, Redline, whichever one come to mind, they're all pretty darn good. There are some that don't do as well as others in testing, but the main idea here is that if you're changing your oil regularly, the brand itself, there are some that are better than others, yes, but stick to the big 3, Castrol, Mobile One, Pennzoil, and that is not in any order at all. Stick with your 040, 020, 520, 540, whatever it is. They're all going to fall within the same viscosity range at the respective testing temperatures, which is in essence 0 degrees Celsius, 40 degrees Celsius, and 100 degrees Celsius, which is to say 32, 104, and 212 in freedom units. That's where they're going to fall in line. In terms of testing and viscosities at those levels, they're all incredibly close. But stick with the brands that you know. Change your oil at no more than about 6,000 miles using a fresh filter. You'll be A-okay. Sovereign is in. Oh, got the cadence down. Good to see you back, my buddy. DM saying, I think people want something fun and new, but it got too expensive. Real talk on that. Maybe if Dodge had something like the Toyota FRS with their HOV6. Good point. That would be a that would actually the inline six, but that would be very. I mean, you call it the Conquest. It'd be perfect for that. It's not even worth it, man. There is a sequential shifter out there, but I wouldn't waste my time with it. And I can go through gears in an H pattern just as fast as I could go through it with a sequential. I'm just not a fan of sequentials. They kind of freak me. I mean, I would be cool with a sequential if it was like a straight cut gearbox and fully synchroed where I didn't have to use a clutch for upshifts. But yeah, no, not a big fan of them for a standard H pattern. Sovereign said, hit the like button. DM saying, what's up, Sovereign? Sovereign said, I must have missed out on the live. Yep. Yeah, we went on a little bit early last time. Oh, Madeira's saying, hey, Professor B, I'm interested in what that new Hornet is going to do sales-wise. Yeah, so is Dodge. Dodge would like to see those things start to sell. I think that's the big thing with them right now. They're not marketing that vehicle. I'm sorry, but I mean, and the last one was, whatever, just love me with your Stinger Hornet people of the Hornet, whatever it was, is horrible commercial that I never do get right, but it's just the absolute, just cringeworthiest car commercial I think I've ever seen. Yeah, not a big fan. So there's that. I will say that it's a bit unnerving that, again, that is what we're seeing. But we're also not seeing anything coming from Jeep. We're not seeing anything coming from Ram. We're just not seeing anything right now. We were talking about maybe some closeout specials, year-end sales extravaganza. Come on down to Frank's Dodge dealership and Live Bait Emporium. We're stacking them deep, selling them cheap. Free bucket of shrimp with your purchase. I don't know. There's nothing that you see coming across the screen. I mean, you're watching TV and, you're not even seeing car dealerships advertising anymore. They know that they've kind of blown it when it comes to whatever it is that they're going to be showing the public. All of it's old news. And by the way, the suck of all of this is why isn't Dodge, or Jeep, I should say, Mopar, why are they not pumping our heads full of just absolute sweet Grand Wagoneer propaganda? My thing is, look, the Grand Wagoneer is, how do I put this? It's good, but I guess you almost get the impression that they're scared to over advertise for fear that people will buy the thing. I haven't heard of anybody buying one and getting upset about it, but I also haven't heard of that many people buying them. So the folks that have bought them, I guess they're liking them, but the folks that aren't buying them are probably not buying them because out of sight, out of mind. I mean, what do you think of when you think of SUV, family SUV? You think Tahoe, right? Maybe if you're, into Fords, you think Expedition, but probably the Tahoe. You don't think Grand Wagoneer. And the problem is that the Grand Wagoneer is really nice to drive, plenty fast. It does everything that the other ones would do and arguably better in terms of performance. Where's the advertisement? I feel so weird when I'm talking about Dodge or Mopar or any of that. It's just, they are conspicuously silent right now from a marketing standpoint, and that it's almost like they don't know how to tie my hands up, I'd probably wouldn't be able to say a word. Well, Dodge doesn't know how to advertise unless they have the rock and roll music and the tire smoke. I think they've forgotten that they make other cars, and Mopar, Stellantis, Jeep, Ram. They've all forgotten that they make vehicles too. So I want to get excited about something. I want to get all lathered up and worked up. And right now, about the only thing that I can even generate some false interest in, or at least some manufactured bravado, is in the Ram with the Hurricane 6. Okay. Well, that's going to be what we're looking forward to, because quite frankly, I just don't see a car coming anytime soon. And what I'm kind of hoping, not really hoping, I mean, my well-being isn't going to be defined by it, but I would just like to not see us get hit with a car that could be cool coming out of maybe left field. Oh, here's something. The brand new Dodge Afterthought. Now with the turbo. I don't know. What are you going to call it? And please don't legacy name this thing. The problem with legacy naming, whatever's coming down the pike, Charger, Banshee, what were all the stupid names? Anyway, the problem with legacy naming this latest car is that there are other more proper legacy names to drop on it. I know people want to hear the Charger name, but at this stage of the game, Charger means a hot rod sedan, but with a V8, right? I mean, yeah, they made V6 Challengers and Chargers, but we're not talking about those cars. We're talking about the V8s. So if it doesn't have a V8, and the V8 was the Charger's top of the line performance option, I just don't want to hear Charger being used as the name of a car that has a 6-cylinder as its top of the line premium power plant. But you could use Conquest. You could use Stealth. I really can't use Stealth because you're using that for some other SUV type thing. Crap. Okay. Daytona, maybe. I mean, they did have the 4-cylinder Daytona, and you could have a 4-cylinder and a 6-cylinder option for this. So there's that. Again, the Conquest actually works a little bit better for me for own personal reasons. But you see where I'm going with this? There are other Cold War kid related products that you could put out there that would, I mean, just, you want to talk about absorbing some people's monies. Well, that's how you go about doing it, my friends. And I think, could be wrong, but I think that would be the right direction to go. Again, nostalgia. It's the most expensive. When you're talking about an emotional purchase, it's the most expensive one out there. And I think that if Dodge could capitalize on that, they'd have a real winner. But they got to let us know about it. So, DM, apparently I cannot text correctly. I get you. No, it's knee jerk to just go to V6 because nobody really talks about inlines anymore. I've caught myself doing the same thing, so don't feel bad. Madera said, I've heard that Hornet is like a 2-door Durango. Might be. The funny thing is I wouldn't even know where to go to look for one. And aren't they supposed to have some hot rod version of that thing too? Where the heck is that? Oh, Rome saying, yo, B, I checked out a 2006 SRT Charger with 137,000 miles the other day. Rode great, but they wanted 13.9. I had them put it on a lift and it was leaking oil and trans fluid, and it still didn't budge. Yeah, I'm not a player on that car at 13.9. Not at all. I mean, I get it. It's a lot of car for the money, but that is like a 1 or a 2 year proposition, and you got to get rid of it. Unless you want to start going through it and I mean, if they would get you in at maybe 11, if you could be out the door at 12, you'd have to put about 1,500, or you'd have to probably put a couple of grand into it just to reseal everything. That'd be a pain in the ass. I don't know. And see, that's you're stumbling into a hard play right now, because now you're talking about cars that are nearly 20 years old. I know it's hard to believe, guys, but 2005 is basically 20 years ago. And a lot of these cars, well, you got the first Challengers that are coming up on 20 years old fairly soon. I guess the point is, at what point are these just old ass used cars? Now, people say, oh, these cars are really going to take off in value once, the EVs take over the world. Well, logistically, that ain't going to happen. But I guess where I'm going with this is, if you're going to go after the older cars, how can you justify the expense of repair? And I mean, luckily, parts availability right now, I don't think is that big of an issue. But how well are these cars holding up 15, 18, 20 years potentially down the line? Well, in some cases, not that great. If they've been taken care of, they're fine. But in some of the older cars, I've seen them in pretty decent shape. But I'm a little worried that coming into the next 3, 4, 5 years, again, I'm not worried about part availability, but I am worried a little bit more about, well, just fixing age-related issues with them. Madera saying, I'd like to see the Ford Excursion come back. A diesel 3/4 ton SUV is a cool idea. But especially for one who doesn't need a bed but wants big towing. Yeah, that's going to be, if they're going to ever come back with something like that. But the Excursion was a killer SUV. And by the way, there are some folks that pay big money for the 7.3 versions of those. Oh, Rum said, exactly. I would have gone in at 11 grand. Seems like just a valve cover gasket and a little harness plug in front right of the tranny was leaking. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You just never know with some of these older cars. And a lot of times, like I say, when it comes to Mopars, my experience has either been really good or really weird. Electrical stuff, wheel speed sensors, hubs, and all the crazy stuff that this car had issues with. They're saying GM still produces the Suburban HD, but only for government fleets. That's kind of a weird one. Would be a cool one to have, though. You can get one at a government auction or something. And again, that's something that I feel like I need to kind of crawl in the middle of. There's some neater vehicles that, that are out there. It's just harder and harder to get into some of these cars when we just don't have any visibility on them. But man, I'll tell you what, Suburban HD sounds kind of fun. But anyway, guys, going to make it a bit of a short one tonight. Just want to touch base with you guys. If there's something that I'm missing with new cars, let me know about it. If there's an obscure manufacturer that's coming out with something cool, I want to be able to check it out. Maybe it's worth taking a look at. We're all into Mopars, but until Mopar gives us really something to talk about, we're all going to be kind of stuck. And by the way, isn't it interesting that at no time during this chat did anybody mention the new Demon? So there's that. I mean, if you're interested in those things, yeah, I'm interested to see how certain people's cars get along. But in general, I already know where this is going. I already know the outcome of this. I don't know. But whatever's next, we need to start hearing about it soon. But we're going to wrap it up short tonight, guys. Listen, get out there and do something cool for somebody. Chances are they need it way more than you know. And with that, that's a wrap. Adios.